Well, let's bring in the former special assistant to President Obama, Charles Kupchan, at the moment. Charles, what do you make of that? Good to see you, by the way. Thank you so much for your time. What do you make of that? That, you know, he was digging his heels in up until a few hours before the announcement was made this morning. Then something changed, and then he didn't tell anyone about it until a minute before he pressed go.
You know, I think this is a very personal, a very difficult decision for Joe Biden. This is a guy who's got public service in his DNA. He's been facing a wave of calls for him to step aside since the debate. He didn't want to go. And I think he little by little began to stare reality in the face. And that is, the polls showed a widening gap between him and Donald Trump. More and more Democrats were coming out to say, Joe, please step aside. I think cold reality set in. He made that tough decision. He didn't share it with others, and he just came out and said to the world, hey, folks, I'm stepping aside. I'm passing the baton to Kamala Harris.
Charles, just hold there for a moment. We've got RFK Jr. who's come out to say a few words. Let's just take this and we'll return to Charles afterwards.
And by commending President Biden for a career in public service, for a long, long career, and representing and serving our country, and for his handling of the many difficulties and challenges, personal challenges and tragedies that he suffered during his life with so much admirable conduct, and the empathy that he derived from those experiences, that he was always proficient at showing to the rest of us. I want to add that a year ago, a little over a year ago, when I entered this race, I predicted that President Biden suffered from a degenerative condition that was not going to improve, and that it would make it impossible for him to govern effectively. The reaction of the DNC to that obvious condition was to hide it from the American public and to use their power over the Democratic Party nomination process to make sure that nobody could compete with President Biden in a way that would expose his deficiencies. And as a result, we are where we are today, which is in a period of crisis. And we have two crises, and they both derive from the same condition. And that condition is the emergence of the domination of corporate power over American democracy that accelerated beginning in 2010 with the Citizens United case that unleashed a tsunami of corporate money into the American political process. And both parties are now captured by that corporate money. And they've lost any kind of authentic connection to the American people or to the populist goals of the Republic and of democracy. On the Republican side, President Biden promised the last time around that he was going to drain the swamp. But instead, he came in and he appointed a pharmaceutical lobbyist and CEO to run HHS, Verizon lobbyist to run the FCC.
OK, we're getting a bit squeezed for time, but that just gives you an idea of what RFK Jr. thinks about things this morning. Let's go back to Charles Kupchan now, who is the former special assistant to President Obama. Thanks for sticking around for us, Charles. So just back to that, what we were talking about. You know, as a Democrat, how are you feeling about things this morning?
You know, I have mixed emotions. I'm sad. I worked very closely with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a man of uncommon decency. He's a true public servant. I like the guy. He's friendly with the guy. And it's painful to see him go through what he's going through and to step down. On the other hand, I'm enormously relieved. I've been losing sleep over the last couple of weeks because of concern that the Democrats were in worse and worse position vis-a-vis the Republicans. Right now, as of about 5 hours ago, the Democrats have a fresh start. They're going to hit the ground running, probably with Kamala Harris at the head of the ticket. I think the Trump campaign has done a good job so far, but they're vulnerable. I think it's going to be a very interesting race to watch. But I don't think Biden had a choice.
Okay.
I think he had to step down, and it's time for a fresh start.
So let's talk about your old boss then, Barack Obama. He hasn't officially endorsed Kamala Harris this morning, not according to that statement anyway. How are you reading into that?
I wouldn't read too much into it at all. I think that this happened only a few hours ago. Most people have not yet had a time to react. I think Joe Biden made the right decision to pass the baton to Kamala Harris, in part because the last thing the Democrats need right now is an intra-party fight with the progressive wing on one side, the centrist wing on another side. I'm expecting the party to rally behind Kamala Harris in the days ahead so that they can head into the convention in August with a ticket that is on course and in which the party has united behind her and her running.
So you think this will all be done before the convention, so it won't be an open convention as such?
I do not expect that. I think what we can expect is to see Kamala Harris reach out to a governor from a swing state in the near future and to put together a centrist coalition to take on Trump and Vance.
Who would you prefer?
I think she's got a choice to make. I think Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan is a very attractive candidate. On the other hand, she may want to go for a white male. The options would be Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, Roy Cooper, governor of North Carolina, Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky. That may position her more clearly in the center. And listen, by picking J.D. Vance, Trump has doubled down on the hard right. He can't win just with his voter base. He needs to reach out to independents, to moderate Republican women in the swing states. I think that Kamala Harris or whoever heads the ticket has a real opportunity to appeal to those independent moderate voters.
That's interesting. Let's close here, Charles. Do you honestly believe that the Democrats could beat Donald Trump in November?
No question in my mind. In fact, I'd go so far as to say they probably will.
Well, OK. Big call. Big call. We'll see. That would have to go against all the polls, but we'll see how things go now that Biden's out of the way and see how those first polls indicate that a potential Kamala Harris and whoever she chooses on a ticket might go. Yeah, it's Biden's compound at the moment, though. No movement, not on the outside anyway. Charles, good to have you with us this morning. That was interesting. Thank you. We'll talk to you again soon. Well, Joe.